I'm ready to face anyone. If we're heading to a unification, I have no preference between Bivol or Sergey Kovalev or Adonis Stevenson. My goal is to unify all titles. I will not go into a verbal war in the public square with him to get his attention. He talks a lot, but this isn't my style. I have no hatred towards him. I respect him as an athlete for what he has done, but I can't evaluate him as a person. Those are the words of Artur Beterbiev, talking about his longtime amateur rival, back from their amateur days, Sergey Kovalev. Beterbiev recently picked up the IBF light heavyweight world title with a 12th round stoppage over Enrico Colin. Kovalev will be fighting Vyacheslav Shabransky, I believe I got his first name right. He'll be fighting Shabransky, and that will be for the vacant WBO light heavyweight title. The other titles are held by, again, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe Bivol, Dmitry Bivol holds one of the titles. And obviously we know Adonis Stevenson holds the WBC belt. So it's all fractured at light heavyweight. But Beterbiev don't care who he fights, as long as he gets to unify against whoever. So that's his view. I'm now going to quote Kathy Duva. She's talking about the possibility of Sergey Kovalev fighting Artur Beterbiev. Kathy Duva says, I wonder if Al Heyman would be a problem. He certainly did everything for years to prevent the fight between Sergey and Stevenson, but I'm always open to negotiate a fair deal. Kovalev told me yesterday that he would love to finally fight Artur, and we can't wait to do it. We're hoping to reach an agreement. In the meantime, he must of course do the job on November 25th and get his hands on the WBO belt. So those are the words of Kathy Duva, talking rubbish once again, as she often does. She says that Al Heyman did everything to prevent Stevenson versus Sergey Kovalev. Well, there was a purse bid, Kathy, which you pulled out of. There was a purse bid, which you called. You pressured the WBC to make Kovalev mandatory for Stevenson's belt, which is an unprecedented thing, given the fact that Kovalev already had a belt for a different sanctioning body, yet they ranked Kovalev in the WBC rankings, gave him a mandatory position, and you called for the purse bid because you openly said that you believed Stevenson was going to vacate his belt rather than take on Sergey Kovalev as a mandatory challenger. That didn't happen. Instead, Stevenson said, okay, bring the purse bid forward, let's do it. And as soon as you realized that Stevenson wasn't going to pull out and he was going to go ahead with the purse bid, you pulled out. That's what happened. And then she says that Al Heyman did everything in his power to prevent the fight. Nonsense. These are just facts, whether people want to believe you or not. Now, there was a point earlier, like a year or so earlier, when Stevenson did something similar, when he was supposed to fight Sergey Kovalev on HBO, but he pulled out of that situation, and he went to go sign with Showtime and joined Al Heyman. That was disappointing to a lot of boxing fans. It was very disappointing to me. I criticized Stevenson at the time for doing so. But what's good for the goose is good for the gander. You have to be consistent with your criticism, as I always am. So as I criticized Stevenson for that, I had to criticize Kovalev and Kathy Duva when they didn't follow through with the purse bid. A purse bid which they engineered, which they brought about. You understand what I'm telling you? A negotiation which they brought about. That wasn't Stevenson's side of the equation which forced that purse bid. That was Kathy Duva, and she openly said that she expected Stevenson to relinquish his belt. So Stevenson and Heyman called Kathy Duva's bluff. Anyway, I hate going over old ground all the time, but Duva's still pumping the same old lies that she has been for a long time. It gets my goat a little bit. But as far as this Kovalev, and by the way, in terms of Adonis Stevenson, he is irrelevant in the light heavyweight division right now. In fact, it's getting to the point, and I'll probably do a separate video about this, it's getting to the point where I think the WBC need to strip Stevenson. They need to strip him of that belt. He hasn't fought mandatory for a very long time. He keeps on putting off this fight against Alida Alvarez. They need to strip him. I can't believe that he's put off this Alvarez mandatory for so long. But anyway, that's a separate video. As far as Kovalev and Beterbiev, hell yeah, I'd like to see them fight each other. Then you've got this Bivol guy who's also a destructive puncher. Exciting times for the light heavyweight division. I'm not sure who I would pick to win between all these guys. I want to see what Kovalev has still got left when he fights Shabransky, how he looks. I saw him on the pads and he looks good on the pads. He looked rejuvenated. He looked like he was energized. I was impressed by what I've seen of Sergey Kovalev so far in the workouts that I've seen, on YouTube and whatnot. So he looks good, but let's see where his mind is at. Let's see what happens if Shabransky is able to make it difficult for him. Take him into deep waters. Shabransky himself seems very motivated and confident. So, yeah, let's see what happens with Kovalev if he manages to win this belt. If he does, maybe we can get Beterbiev against Kovalev unification showdown. IBF champion versus WBO champion. Where would it be held? Would they have it in Russia? Would they have it in the US? I don't know. How do you think the fight would go? Drop it all in the comment section below. Let me know how you feel. It's happening. I'm out.